brutal murder of a Mesa mother of 6 2 years earlier.
And brutally beat and repeatedly stabbed a 44-year-old woman, a mother of 6, named Cynthia Garcia. They then dumped Garcia's nearly decapitated body near Usury Pass.
Imagine a world where loyalty is enforced with violence and silence is maintained through fear. In this shadowy underworld, the Hells Angels reign supreme. Today, we're delving into one of the most chilling and brutal cases involving this notorious motorcycle gang. This story revolves around the horrific murder of Cynthia Garcia, a single mother whose life was tragically cut short by members of the Hells Angels. Known for their violent reputation, the Hells Angels have been involved in numerous criminal activities, but the murder of Cynthia Garcia stands out for its sheer brutality. Buckle up as we uncover the details of this gruesome crime and the investigation that followed. Cynthia Yvonne Garcia was born on September 13, 1957, into a life marked by hardship and resilience. Growing up in an impoverished household, Cynthia faced numerous challenges from a young age. Despite these difficulties, she was known for her kind and gentle nature. Her early life was characterized by a struggle to make ends meet, but she remained determined to provide a better future for herself and her family. Cynthia married in her teens and had 6 children, whom she raised as a single mother after her divorce in her 20s. Her children remember her as a loving and caring mother who always wanted the best for them. Despite the financial and emotional struggles, Cynthia worked tirelessly to support her family. She was described by her children as funny, lovable, and someone who taught them the importance of honesty and leading a good life. However, Cynthia's life was not without its struggles. She battled alcoholism, which became a significant challenge in her later years. Despite her personal battles, Cynthia's love for her children remained unwavering. Her tragic death at the hands of the Hells Angels was a devastating blow to her family and highlighted the brutal reality of gang violence. The Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, HAMC, is one of the most infamous outlaw motorcycle gangs in the world. Founded on March 17, 1948, in Fontana, California, by Otto Friedli, the club emerged from a merger of several small motorcycle clubs. The name Hells Angels was inspired by World War II bomber squadrons and a 1930 Howard Hughes film. The Hells Angels are known for their strict membership requirements and loyalty to the club. Prospective members undergo a rigorous vetting process, and once accepted, they are expected to adhere to the club's code of conduct. The club's emblem, the Death Head, is a symbol of their identity and is fiercely protected. With over 6,000 members and 467 charters in 59 countries, the Hells Angels have a significant global presence. They are often associated with organized crime, including drug trafficking, extortion, and violent conflicts with rival gangs. Law enforcement agencies worldwide consider the Hells Angels an organized crime syndicate. The club's notoriety increased in the 1960s and 1970s, partly due to media coverage and high-profile incidents, like the Ultimate Free concert in 1969, where a Hells Angels member was involved in the fatal stabbing of a concert-goer, too. Despite their criminal activities, the Hells Angels maintain a strong brotherhood and continue to attract new members. The night of the murder, on October 25, 2001, Cynthia Garcia's life took a tragic turn. She was invited to a party at the Hells Angels clubhouse in Mesa, Arizona. Unbeknownst to her, this invitation would lead to her untimely death. The events of that night were nothing short of horrific. Cynthia, under the influence of alcohol, got into an argument with members of the Hells Angels. This argument quickly escalated into violence. The brutal attack. Cynthia was subjected to a brutal attack by 3 members of the Hells Angels: Michael Kramer, Kevin Augustiniak, and Paul Eischeid. The attack began with a punch to her face, followed by over 30 stabbings all over her body. The perpetrators then attempted to behead her, but when they failed, they wrapped her body in a piece of carpeting and drove her to the Desert 3. There, they dumped her body into a shallow grave. 3. Discovery of the body. On October 31, 2001, Cynthia's body was discovered by the roadside in a shallow grave. The authorities quickly arrived at the scene and began their investigation. They found tire marks, shoe prints, and cigarette butts, which provided crucial evidence. The investigators also interviewed Cynthia's loved ones and nearby residents to gather more information about the crime. The investigation. The investigation into Cynthia Garcia's murder initially showed little progress. However, A breakthrough came when Michael Kramer, one of the perpetrators, decided to cooperate with the authorities. Kramer, who was also involved in the stabbing, claimed that his conscience got the better of him, and he couldn't keep the crime a secret any longer. He provided incriminating evidence against his accomplices, including recorded conversations. Michael Kramer, an alcoholic and methamphetamine addict, Kramer had a history of criminal activities, including assault and robbery. Despite his violent tendencies, he eventually turned informant, helping the authorities with their investigation. Kevin Augustiniak, a career criminal with convictions for trespassing, assault, drunk driving, and resisting arrest. Augustiniak was known for his violent behavior, including an incident where he punched a woman in the face, breaking her jaw. Paul Eichscheid. Unlike his accomplices, Eichscheid was a successful stockbroker with a clean-shaven, respectable appearance. However, he was deeply involved in the Hells Angels and had covered his torso with tattoos, including the Hells Angels' Death's Head logo. The trial and sentencing of Cynthia Garcia's murderers were complex and lengthy processes. Michael Kramer, Kevin Augustiniak, and Paul Eichscheid were the primary perpetrators involved in the brutal killing. Michael Kramer, who later turned informant, provided crucial evidence that helped convict his accomplices. Kevin Augustiniak was sentenced to 23.5 years in prison after pleading guilty to second-degree murder in October 2011. His sentencing was extended beyond the typical 22-year cap due to a prior aggravated assault conviction. Augustiniak's violent history and involvement in the murder were key factors in his sentencing. Paul Eichscheid, a former stockbroker with a relatively clean criminal record, was also indicted for Garcia's murder in 2003. However, he fled the country during his pretrial release and was captured in Argentina in 2011. Eichscheid was extradited to the United States and sentenced to life in prison. His flight and subsequent capture highlighted the international reach of law enforcement efforts to bring him to justice. The trial and sentencing of these individuals underscored the severity of their crimes and the relentless pursuit of justice by law enforcement agencies. The murder of Cynthia Garcia had a profound and lasting impact on her family and the broader community. Her children were left devastated by the brutal loss of their mother, a woman they remembered as loving and caring despite her struggles. The emotional toll on her family was immense as they grappled with the sudden and violent nature of her death. The community, too, was shaken by the crime, which highlighted the pervasive and violent influence of the Hells Angels in their midst. The case brought increased scrutiny to the Hells Angels, exposing the gang's violent and criminal activities to the public and law enforcement. The brutality of Cynthia's murder underscored the gang's willingness to use extreme violence to maintain control and silence dissent. This incident, among others, prompted law enforcement agencies to intensify their efforts to infiltrate and dismantle the gang's operations. The Hells Angels operate under a strict code of silence, known as Omerta. This code is a cornerstone of their operations, making it extremely difficult for law enforcement to gather information about the gang's activities. Members are expected to remain loyal to the club and never cooperate with authorities. Breaking this code can result in severe consequences, including violence and even death. This culture of silence and loyalty is enforced through intimidation and the threat of retribution, ensuring that members and associates keep the gang's secrets. The Omerta Code complicates law enforcement efforts to investigate and prosecute the Hells Angels. Witnesses and potential informants are often too afraid to come forward, fearing violent reprisals. This code of silence has allowed the Hells Angels to operate with a degree of impunity, making it challenging for authorities to penetrate the gang's inner workings and gather the evidence needed for successful prosecutions. Undercover operations have been crucial in infiltrating and gathering evidence against the Hells Angels. One notable example is Jay Dobbins, an undercover ATF agent who successfully infiltrated the Hells Angels in the early 2000s. Dobbins' work provided valuable insights into the gang's operations and helped bring several members to justice. His infiltration was a significant achievement, given the gang's stringent vetting processes and the constant threat of exposure. Dobbins' undercover work involved adopting a new identity and gaining the trust of Hells Angels members. This dangerous assignment required him to participate in the gang's activities, all while secretly gathering evidence. His efforts culminated in a series of arrests and convictions, dealing a significant blow to the Hells Angels operations. Dobbin's story highlights the risks and challenges faced by undercover agents working to dismantle organized crime from within. Cynthia Garcia's tragic death serves as a stark reminder of the dangers posed by violent criminal organizations like the Hells Angels. Her story has been featured in various documentaries and true crime shows, shedding light on the brutal reality of gang violence. These portrayals have helped raise public awareness about the severity of gang-related crimes and the impact on victims and their families. Her family continues to honor her memory and advocate for justice for victims of violent crime. They have become vocal supporters of efforts to combat gang violence and support victims' rights. Cynthia's legacy is one of resilience and advocacy, as her loved ones work to ensure that her death was not in vain. Their efforts contribute to ongoing initiatives aimed at reducing gang violence and providing support to those affected by such crimes. The murder of Cynthia Garcia remains a poignant example of the human cost of gang violence. It underscores the importance of continued efforts by law enforcement, communities, and advocacy groups to address the root causes of gang activity and support victims and their families. Through these collective efforts, there is hope for a future where such senseless violence is less prevalent and justice is more accessible for all. The murder of Cynthia Garcia by members of the Hells Angels is a chilling example of the extreme violence that can occur within outlaw motorcycle gangs. Despite the challenges faced by law enforcement, the cooperation of individuals like Michael Kramer and the dedication of undercover agents have been instrumental in bringing perpetrators to justice. Cynthia Garcia's story is a tragic reminder of the human cost of gang violence and the importance of continued efforts to combat organized crime. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the brutal murder of Cynthia Garcia. If you found this story compelling, please like, share, and subscribe for more true crime content. Hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest videos. Until next time, stay safe and stay informed.